You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Good evening. My name is Peter Basserman. I'm chairman of the Branford Inland Wetland Commission. I'll now open the commission's regular meeting. It is August 14th, 2025, and it is 7 o'clock. Today's meeting will be conducted as a virtual meeting using the Zoom software platform. It's being held in accordance with Connecticut Public Act 22-3. And the information for tonight's meeting is available on the town's website. The final agenda is also on the town's website or at the town hall for inspection. Any changes this evening to the agenda from staff?
No changes.
Branford Community Television is recording this evening. Thankful for their participation and service to the community. For those speaking tonight, make sure that your face is visible when recording. Also to ensure accurate and complete discussion, record of discussion. Each time a statement is made, please indicate your name before articulating any comment. This applies to any party wishing to participate. And you can use the raise your hand feature when it's open for comment to make such comments. Let's see, we'll take our customary roll call at this point. Commissioner Golkowski.
Commissioner Golkowski, present.
Commissioner Boda.
Commissioner Boda, present.
Commissioner Papantonis.
Commissioner Papantonis, present.
Commissioner Begeman. Commissioner Begeman, you're muted, Commissioner. Now you're invisible. Commissioner Begeman, one more time. Let's see, we'll add Commissioner Begeman when she joins us. Staff. Jamie Frederick.
Present.
And Katie Blanchett.
Present.
Okay, we have enough for a quorum this evening. All the commissioners present are seated and can vote. Is there any commissioner regarding tonight's agenda that needs to recuse themselves from any of the items on the agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to the minutes of July 24th. Which was a regular meeting of the commission. Again, the minutes are available on the town's website for inspection. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Commissioner Papantonis, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
That's great. Is there a second?
Commissioner Golkowski, I'll second those.
That's great. Note at this time, Commissioner Begeman has joined us. Is there any disagreement on the minutes as presented? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes of July 24th, indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Okay, first item on the agenda this evening. We have an application for review, Inland Wetland 250704, 114 Clark Avenue, landscaping, retaining wall, and plantings. Additional information has been included in the record since our last meeting. Jamie, can you frame where we're at on this application?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So yeah, the commission had requested stormwater calculations, essentially demonstration that the water quality volume was being retained on site in some way, and also a planting plan. So we have received revised stormwater calculations. They're now proposing a swale at the bottom of the retaining wall, that, according to the calculations, handles more than the water quality volume. And I'm pretty sure I already said this, received a planting plan. The other thing I wanted to identify is that I did advise that they change the stormwater calculations to kind of align with what the commission typically sees, using the 24-hour storm event rather than a 5-minute storm event. So in case anyone noticed the numbers changed a lot, that is in part why.
Is there an opportunity, I guess, this evening for someone to just review the data that was presented from the applicant? Do we have somebody on this call for 114 Clark Avenue?
Yeah, this is Ryan. This is Ryan Thompson. Sorry, I didn't know how to unmute from my phone. I'm having to just take this call from my car. I'm the engineer and the land surveyor. I was at the last meeting and I reviewed the survey and the report that was asked previously after the meeting last month. As Jamie indicated, the commission requested a little bit more information, so I did update the stormwater management calculations using a 24-hour storm event, NOAA Atlas 14, which I had used NOAA Atlas 14 data initially, but I had used the 5-minute duration, and I had done so because a 5-minute duration storm will provide a much more intense storm, which will create a larger runoff rate. So that was the intent of that. But when you look at the 24-hour storm, it is a significantly smaller, significantly less intense storm, which results in a significantly less runoff volume, a rate of volume. But it does obviously provide, a slightly larger total volume of runoff. So those calculations that you see there incorporate that. That said, I also was asked to do the water quality volume based on the requirements, and it came out to, I believe it was 28 cubic feet. And so and I was on vacation last week when asked to put together this swale, so I hand drew it. I will update the plan with a CAD, a professional drawing showing this same information here. But for the purposes of this meeting, this is the intent of what the swale will look like that will accommodate the water quality volume of 28 cubic feet or 27, whatever it is. I believe it's 27. And you can see the geometry of the swell. It's essentially, basically 6 inches deep. It's a foot wide at the base. And you're roughly 2 feet wide at the top, which will allow for storage of about 30 feet long, or about 45 cubic feet of water runoff, which is almost double what's required. And then it would essentially infiltrate into the ground or sheet flow over the ground, the existing ground into the existing wetland. So those are the updates, and I'm more than happy to answer. Those are the updates that I did. I know that the homeowner also provided a planting plan. I will answer any questions that you have of this and the calculations. And then I would defer to Ms. Dufour to go over the planting plan.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Any questions on the stormwater before I switch over to the planting plan?
This is Commissioner Boda. Just, Mr. Thompson, would you reiterate, you said that the 5-minute calculation, did you say that it enables you to better identify in more intense duration?
Yeah. So the 5-minute storm event, the 5-minute duration storm, you know, in each of the various categories, a 2-year, 10-year, 100-year, 500-year, is a far more intense storm event. Meaning, you know, for example, and I don't have it in front of me, but I believe the 10-year storm is about 7 inches per hour versus the 24-hour storm, which is, I think it's like 0.3 inches per hour. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm on my phone, so it's where is the 0.34 inches per hour is the 24-hour duration 100-year storm. So significantly less intense. And this is straight from NOAA 14. You know, you can look it up on the website. That is that. So what I had done previously was I used the 5-minute duration storm because you're looking at, you know, 7 to 10 inches per hour in a very short, intense burst, which is what I had, previously proposed or previously, shown. But at the request of Jamie, I updated these calculations to be in line with, I guess, what you folks look for more often. And so that's where the 0.34 inches per hour comes from.
Thank you. That
So
information.
essentially, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I appreciate the expansion on the information, and then just one follow-up question. In your experience, are there other municipalities that are using these 5-minute duration in their regs?
I mean, it just depends on what you're trying to solve for. So yes, to simply answer your question, there are other municipalities that are using a 5-minute duration storm. So I want to clarify, because it depends on what you really want to get at. If you're looking at total volume, right? Total actual collected water that accumulates. Obviously, a longer duration, 24-hour storm event will result in a larger total volume of water that's collected over the drainage area. And what happens to that, whether it gets infiltrated, whether it runs off, whether it ponds into a wetland area, and then later down, it goes downstream, whether it gets absorbed into the plant life or evaporated, that's all not really considered in that total volume or a longer duration storm. However, if you want to know what is the most, damaging in terms of erosion, velocity, flow, like volumetric flow of the water, a shorter duration, more intense storm will give you that value. So if you have 7 inches per hour, it's collecting in 5 minutes, and it's all got to go, time of concentration is whatever, 5 or 10 minutes, and it's all accumulating into a channelized flow. And in the case, what I had done before, I was looking specifically at the flow around the wall, the flow, through the wall, going into that wetlands, erosion capabilities, whether it was bringing any sediment. That shorter duration, more intense storm is going to give you a much better understanding of what the velocities and the total water going through in a very short but very intense time frame will look like. So the answer is, it depends on what you really want to analyze, which one you should use. And, that's why I used the more intense storm previously. Just want to make sure that's clear. I was trying to be, I guess, more conservative. And ultimately, what you have in that case, I mentioned before, you had about, 8 or 9 garden hoses worth of flow, in terms of of volume over time going through that area into the wetlands. With this updated, calculation, and you have the total volume, it ends up coming out to, so the 25 or 28 cubic feet of water quality volume is based on the first 1.3 inches, which is from the stormwater manual there. But when you analyze it for 100-year storm, it ends up being, I don't remember, I think it's ended up being something like 200 or something total cubic yards that goes into the actual wetland. That's not the water quality volume. That's the total volume from the rainfall event. And so that, just to put it in perspective, is about the amount of water that would fill up. So this would be in addition, this would be the runoff addition after the emplacement of the wall that's in question and the landscaping. This is what's added to the runoff volume from between pre-development and post-development going into the wetland. And that's what I had mentioned before. There is an increase in volume, but that 200 or whatever total cubic feet that I calculated, that equates to about the size of a small child swimming pool that you would buy at, say, Big Lots or something. Maybe an 8-foot diameter swimming pool filled up about 1.5 feet or so. That's about the amount of water that's increased in the 100-year storm using these calculations. I just want to make sure that I'm not trying to do a lesson here. I just want to make sure that I'm clear in explaining what we're looking at coming off this property. I hope that helps.
It did. Thank you very much.
This is Commissioner Basserman. To continue in the teaching environment, is the only variable here time? The 5 minutes versus the 24 hour? Is the volume that's being considered the same, or do we have more than time as a variable in the calculation?
Well, it's not just one variable; it's multivariable. So the equation is for flow for Q, all right, is equals CIA, C being the runoff coefficient, which is based on the type of ground, and so that's one of the variables. And that changes between pre-development and post-development. So in pre-development, and that's another thing. I had used a much more conservative pre-development or post-development runoff coefficient, but using the guidance from the commission, I actually end up resulting in a much lower post-development runoff coefficient. So the higher the runoff coefficient, the higher the volume. But it's also CIA, so coefficient I being intensity and then A being area. Well, the area stays the same between the two. So that's the only variable that doesn't change. Intensity, theoretically, you want to establish the same intensity in pre and post development to analyze it. So, I had again used the 5-minute duration storm. Now we're using 24-hour storm. So that intensity changes, but so those are the different variables. But to simplify, the total volume is a function of how many acres times how intense and how many hours, right? So if you have let's say a 10 minutes or 10 inches per hour storm, which would be a very intense storm, but it only lasted an hour, right? It would be 10 inches. And then you multiply that over the area, whatever it is, if it's an acre. So, it would be about 0.8 acre feet or whatever that turns out to be in terms of cubic feet. But if you have a 24-hour storm, and it's a 0.34 inches per hour times 24, whatever that math is, I think it comes out to around 6 or 7, inches over that same, let's say it's 1 acre. Well, now you have closer to half an acre foot. So you would have a lower volume of total water in the 24-hour event than you would in, let's say, a 1-hour event. Obviously, a 5-minute event would be a significantly less total number of volume because it's it's a less amount of time, but then you would, whatever the intensity is, you'd have to multiply that. I hope that makes sense.
Would the intensity vary over that 100-year storm period? Pardon me, over the
Yes, the
24-hour
intensity
period?
Well, I mean,
Or do you hold that constant over that 24-hour
well,
period?
you use the value provided by NOAA Atlas 14. So short answer is you use the value that's provided. True, honest, mathematical grad school level answer is yeah, the intensity does change, of course, over that period of time. But what they do is they take the average, and it's based on I would encourage you to look at yeah, sir. Okay.
You're good.
Jamie Frederick in the Wetland Agent. I can send out a little bit of information to commissioners if they're interested in looking at it. And if you have any questions, I can try and give you the non-engineer response. Or maybe we can ask for a general lesson from the town engineer, perhaps, if he's listening to this. I'm sure he's happy to hear that. But yeah, so long story short, on my end, I just want to say I don't think there was anything wrong with him using the 5-minute intensity. I just know that we usually get the 24-hour intensity, or 24-hour period. So I figured it would be more comparable to what the commission's used to seeing. Also, I did look it up in the stormwater quality manual to make sure I wasn't going completely off book by suggesting that maybe he used the 24-hour instead. And the revised stormwater quality manual does, in fact, in the beginning, chapter 1, they kind of bullet point the updates that they made, and one of them is update of design storm precipitation to incorporate available precipitation frequency data for Connecticut for more resilient stormwater management design. This includes updates to design storm precipitation for stormwater quality control NOAA Atlas 14, and an updated water quality design storm 90th percentile 24-hour rainfall based on updated rainfall data for Connecticut as of the development of this manual. And in the manual, they kind of include the backstory of how that 90th percentile 24-hour rainfall is determined, which speaks to the question that Chairman Basserman had about does the intensity vary over the duration of the storm. Basically, they're taking an average of a bunch of data, and they came up with a number to represent typical expected storm for Connecticut.
Any other questions for Mr. Thompson? All right, we had a planting plan update as well.
Yes.
We have somebody to speak to that.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent, I'll kind of set the scene and then let the property owner fill in. So this is the retaining wall, steps leading down to the lower area. The offsite in the wetland is located pretty much just off of where the edge of the image is. So there's some existing, I believe, arborvitae and cedar and or spruce, and they're looking to infill with a couple of plants. It's not a very large area, so I don't know that it would be, I don't know that you could fit more plants in here than what's already being proposed. And then for the list of species she provided, she wants to do 3 dwarf fruit trees, and then the rest are native mountain laurel, Virginia sweetspire, viburnum montago, and clathra. And then I'm going to jump back to the general site plan real quick. So again, here's the retaining wall, those stairs, the existing plants, the arborvitae, the 2 cedar trees, and there is also, I think, 2 mature trees here as well. And then there's some raised planters on the up at the top of the retaining wall, if you will.
Here comes that 5-minute storm.
This is Commissioner Boda. was curious about the inclusion of the Bartlett pear. If I am recalling correctly, like you said, they're not native, but I think the other issue is that they tend to get some kind of common blight or bacteria that requires a lot of treatment. And I'm just curious about that choice, if there's a better choice that can be made for that area. Another fruit tree that perhaps is less susceptible to things that require chemical application.
We have someone on the call that can address the concern raised by Commissioner Boda regarding the pear trees.
I know, I'm sorry, Sir Ryan Thompson. I know Miss Dufour was on the call, and I'm not really qualified to speak to it, but if she's unable to talk, I would, on her behalf, I would say that I'm certain that I know that she wants to, get this approved and move forward, and she would make any suggestions or changes to the planting plan that the commission would request. So if the commission doesn't want to use the pear plant, I'm certain she would be willing to swap it out with a different plant. Well, probably one of those same that's on the list. I don't want to speak for her because I am not, the qualified person with the planting plan, but I do know that that is what she's relayed to me.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I have pressed the button asking Rose to unmute a couple times. So I'm not sure if she's able to. Rose, if you're able to type into the chat and you want to let us know if you have a response, that would also work. As far as unmuting, for a shortcut, you can probably, if you're on a Windows, click Alt-Y, or if you're on a Mac, Option Y to unmute if you're having a hard time unmuting. While we're waiting to see if she can unmute, I will just mention I feel that the property owner has expressed very similar to myself as well. I don't think that she would want to get hung up on this one plant, and would be willing to take any concerns the commission has into consideration.
Any other questions from the commission regarding the planting plan, either the number or the type of species suggested?
Commissioner Papantonis, I would just agree with Commissioner Boda and Commissioner, I think Begman said something also about the Bartlett pear.
There is a staff report for this item. It may be appropriate at this point because we can deal with the plant to the extent that this looks to move forward with maybe a condition. Jamie, you want to just quickly take us through the staff report?
Sure. Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So I think as I briefly touched on before, permit was received in 2013 for the construction of the house. This application is in response to a notice violation that was issued in regards to the retaining wall. There's no erosion controls shown on the site plan. I have a comment about that later. A stormwater plan was submitted August 6th via email. Calculated water quality volume 28 cubic feet. Proposed swale provides 45 cubic feet of on-site storage. I did one point that I think we might want to ask for clarification, which relates back to the erosion control concern, is what the surface of the swale is going to be. Is it going to be lined with stone or is it going to be grass? Knowing that the property owner seeming to having a problem with her microphone, I will mention that I did talk with her briefly this afternoon, and she said she was looking to have grass. She's trying to minimize the amount of stone on site. So with that in mind, I said that the commission probably want to see some sort of erosion control, like a straw wattle or something, just to make sure there's no movement of that soil while that grass is establishing. And I do have a possible condition for consideration that might address that if it's satisfactory to the commission. Landscaping, we just went over the landscape plan. So possible conditions for consideration I had drafted include erosion control if warranted for erosion control inspection if warranted for condition 2, plantings inspection, stormwater inspection, and final inspection. Number 2 is to minimize sediment and erosion control concerns. All work associated with the swale shall be conducted during a dry window of no rainfall. If this is not feasible, sediment and erosion control shall be installed downslope of the swale to the satisfaction of the inland wetlands duly authorized agent. Earlier, the engineer represented that he would be willing to provide an updated formal drawing for the stormwater. So if the commission thought it was appropriate, you could perhaps revise condition 2 to state a revised plan shall be submitted showing formal drawing of the stormwater plan and erosion controls to the satisfaction of the duly authorized agent. Condition 3 is planting shall be mulch with a natural woody mulch at time of planting to assist with water retention and ground stabilization. For any changes to plant species shall be approved by the inland wetlands duly authorized agent. Any changes to the native plant selected shall be replaced with a native plant species. No invasive plants shall be planted. Potentially could modify that to also address the Bartlett pear. And number 5 is planting shall be monitored for 3 years to ensure at least 85% survival. And 6, I was kind of on the fence on this one, but I figured I'd throw it in for you guys to consider. Certification from the project engineer that stormwater management has been installed in compliance with the plan submitted August 6, 2025. If we're leaving that in, it should say certification shall be submitted from project or something like that. And then standard conditions and general provisions of all permits.
This is Commissioner Bosman. Jamie, is item 6 something particular for this application, or is that something that we should be considering for all applications?
Yeah, Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. It's something we typically require. A lot of times we'll require it through the as-built and require that it shows the stormwater. I don't know that we need a whole new as-built for this project. As indicated, the swale is pretty standard dimensions, so I don't know if the commission's satisfied with me doing an inspection rather than making the homeowner have the engineer come back out after the work has been done. But
Thank you.
Jamie, Commissioner Goklowski, if I remember correctly, the property owner's been very receptive and very cooperative with this whole scenario. Am I correct?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Yes, the property owner is very responsive and has, been working with me and asking questions along the way.
Okay. All right. Thank you. It's Commissioner Goklowski again. I don't know how the other commissioners feel, but based on all the information that we received this evening, and based on the staff report, I personally don't see a problem moving forward. And I'm not. If I have any.
I smell a motion here.
Well, I want to have my other. I want to make sure my other commissioners are on board before we start that process. Commissioner Boda has been a little quiet, and I could see the smile on her face, so she's been receptive about a few things. So I'm not sure. So, But they've done everything we've asked them to do in a very, very quick time period. So and we're running out of planting season too. So
why don't you go ahead and make the motion and we'll find out if everyone's on board or not.
okay, let's see if I can do this. Inland Wetlands 250704, 114 Clock Avenue, Branford. As stated in the application and the staff report, all the conditions should be met, plus the staff report dated 8/14/2025, and in a copy of the revised stormwater plan to be submitted to the Inland Wetlands Office prior to commencement of any work.
Is there a second out there?
This is Commissioner Boda. I'll second, and then we need a vote. Well, no, and then make a. That was really nice, Commissioner Gurkowski, and I think there was a couple other conditions we wanted to clarify. Can I go ahead and make that friendly amendment?
Sounds good to me.
So we also, the planting plan should be revised to find a more suitable planting than a Bartlett pear to be reviewed by town staff. And, oh, that was the second one. No, it's gone.
I think it was the plan.
The CAD will be submitted in place of the hand drawing to staff. And actually for number 5, the plantings shall be monitored and reports shall be submitted annually, ensuring at least 85% survival. We typically have 3 to 5 years. So I think I would suggest that we have 3 to no more than 5 years. I think that's it.
Jamie Frederick, Inland Wetland Agent, just a point of clarification. So planting shall be monitored annually for 3 to no more than 5 years to ensure at least 85% survival.
Yeah.
Is that amendment acceptable, Commissioner Gokowski?
Yes.
Did we miss anything?
This is Commissioner Begeman. I don't know if we need the project engineer to come back and certify it. As Jamie suggested, she might be able to do that she would be able to do that herself, given it's a swale and there's the plant. That would need to be a change if people agree that.
This is Commissioner Basserman. Commissioner Begeman, would you provide the words for item 6 instead of what's on there then?
I don't know. I hear you, and I also, this is Commissioner Boda. I feel like stuff has been written in a plan, and that it's not done to meet those specifications. And I don't want to put that additional work on Jamie and Katie when it can be done by the project engineer.
This is Commissioner Begeman. I understand that. That's fine.
Any other suggestions before we take the vote?
And before we take the vote, if the person that, if Goklowski and Boda can indicate whether they accept those amendments.
Oh, I accepted all the
I thought
amendments.
we did
Oh,
that.
okay,
but
sorry, I missed it.
No problem. Just one other thing before we take the vote is the property owner still not is still muted?
Well, there's a motion on the table, so we can't really hear from the property
No, I
owner.
just want to see if she is muted or not. Yep. Okay. Yep, she's still muted. All right, we'll take a vote. Commissioner Goklowski.
Commissioner Goklowski, aye.
Commissioner Boda.
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Papantonis.
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Begeman.
Commissioner Begeman, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. Okay. Okay, we're on to item 5, pardon me, yeah, 5. Enforcement. The notice of violation for 114 Clark Avenue regarding the construction of a retaining wall without a permit from the agency. And I guess we have to formally close this one out, Jamie?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. Yeah, it'd be my recommend to close it. I think we can just have a general consensus from the commission on that there's permit in place. Anyone have any outstanding concerns that you feel need to be addressed?
Nope.
This is Commissioner Baskerman. I assume that the application that we just reviewed satisfied all of the issues raised in the NOV?
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I believe it does. It reviews the activities that have occurred and activities that are to occur.
Okay. General consensus, is there anybody opposed to closing out NOV for 114 Clark Avenue? Hearing none, we move to item 6. Jurisdictional ruling request, jurisdictional ruling 250801, 71 Midwood Road, removal of Japanese knotwood and selective cutting of greenbrier in and adjacent to the wetland. We need help on this one, Jamie.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. So this property might sound slightly familiar. Property owners before the commission recently, and we had kind of discussed that she might have some future projects and want to that might need review by the agency. So at this point, the property owner is looking to manage Japanese knotweed on the property. And again, I'm just going to give a quick introduction and then we'll hand it over to the applicant for the property owner to clarify and fill in. But she's looking to manage Japanese knotweed on the property, and in doing that, there's some greenbrier that's growing in the same area. So she wants to manage the greenbrier to the extent that she would need to be able to access the knotweed. So some of this is located in the wetland. I felt that it probably would fall in the jurisdictional ruling world. So I had her fill out a jurisdictional ruling request. I don't know if everyone had a chance to read through the project narrative. Initially, the property owner had submitted a sign-off request, and I told her to move it over to the jurisdictional ruling, in case anyone's wondering why the sign-off request is in there as well. She indicates the methods of removal: manual cutting using hand tools, no heavy machinery, soil excavation, or root pulling. And she provides a map of where she's proposing to do this activity. I'll just screen share that real quick. So with the map up, I guess I would hand it over to the property owner to provide any other information you think might be relevant for the commission to consider in regards to your jurisdictional ruling request, and or anything you want to clarify from what I've said.
I don't know what else you'd need to know. So I'll answer any questions you have. I'm sorry, it's Lorraine Esposito, 71 Midwood.
I don't see, this is Commissioner Basserman, I don't see, I guess, on the map that I'm looking at, the distinction between the yellow line and I don't know, pink line.
The yellow line indicates where the green briar is noticed, and the red lines indicate where the Japanese knotweed is. I'm sorry, that's Lorraine Esposito. I got to get used to that. Sorry.
Ms. Esposito, this is Commissioner Boda. Are you, after the removal, how are you envisioning that to revegetate? Are you planning to rely on past seed bank? Are you thinking to do plantings in the area?
It's Lorraine Esposito. I am absolutely looking to make this a beautiful area. I think it is already outstanding, but the Japanese knotweed is overtaking everything. So my plan is to first remove this very invasive plant and the greenbrier so I can move around there, and then understand what my options are once the area is free from this invasive plant. I have every intention of hiring a landscaper that is familiar with the wetlands to make sure that whatever I do not only is beautiful to look at, but it is of great quality to the ecosystem that supports all the beauty that I enjoy.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Basserman. How close, what's the time frame between the removal and the planting?
I think it's going to take some time for the knotweed to be exhausted. Since I don't want to use chemicals or uproot the soil and remove the roots, it's going to take some time for the exhaustion to set in. So I'm anticipating that to be 2 seasons, perhaps. There are other issues that are in play regarding this area for the stormwater culvert that is distributing water into that area that need to be resolved before I can have a clear understanding of what I am left with and what I can envision for the space. So I don't have an exact answer, but it is not in the immediate future that I can tell you.
So this is Commissioner Boda. I'm looking at 4.2 in our regulations and also reflecting on past practice. The commission has been favorable to the purposeful and thoughtful removal of invasives, as well as the restoration of properly functioning wetland ecosystems. And so I would just say that under 4.2a, conservation of soil, vegetation, water, fish, shellfish, and wildlife, that this request specifically for removal of
Invasive.
knotweed and barberry would be an as of right activity, and that the property owner should return with any future plans once the removal has been successful to the point where she is ready to go forward with a planting plan. That should come back to the commission for another review to ensure that it is an as of right activity, because it is still in line with 4.2a.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. I just want to clarify, it's greenbrier vines, not barberry, which is native but can be considered a nuisance plant and does overgrow other things. So I think the selective cutting rather than complete eradication is not necessarily going to have any sort of detrimental impact.
Is Commissioner Bassman, any commissioner feel that this is at least the removal of the two noted invasives? Anyone feel that that is not an as of right? Is Commissioner Bassman, does the homeowner have any problem with coming back to the commission with the planting plan for the new activity?
None.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, Lorraine Esposito. None.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. My question for the property owner, Ms. Esposito, you're saying you're looking at possibly a two seasons of planting to complete this project?
Lorraine Esposito. No. Yes and no. I'm looking at 2 seasons to ensure that I have at least tired out the root systems of these invasive plants before I can understand what I'm left with and what could be the best enhancement for the area once I have eradicated those invasive plants. And I have no problem, and I welcome actually coming back to the commission to make sure whatever I've planned will be sustainable and actually benefit the ecosystem.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. I believe the property owner has all the best intentions in the world. And I don't have a problem, and I'm hoping the rest of the commission doesn't have a problem to allow Jamie to monitor this situation moving forward. And if a situation should arise, that she just make us aware of a situation if it should occur. But I don't think a situation is going to occur.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent, just to clarify, if it's as of right, that means it's as of right and there's no inspections required. That said, if the property owner wants to meet or has any questions or concerns or wants to discuss other things, I'm more than happy to have conversations.
Just Lorraine Esposito, and the door has always been open and inviting, so I make use of it. And be careful what you offer, because
This Commissioner Bassman, Jamie, is this good to go, or do we need to vote?
Typically, we do a vote.
Okay, Commissioner Boda. Oh wait, we need a motion.
We need.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyone want a second?
You want to use what I said before? Because I mean,
technically, it should be made now. I guess.
Technically, it should be a motion.
Yeah.
Okay. I will make a motion that JR 250801 71 Midwood Road request judicial ruling request be identified as an as of right activity in line with 4.2A conservation of soil, vegetation, water, fish, shellfish, and wildlife, and that the property owner should return for any future work as this jurisdictional ruling applies specifically to the knotweed and greenbrier outlined in the request.
Second.
Yeah, Commissioner Goklowski, I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Okay, we'll take a vote. Commissioner Papatonis,
Commissioner Papantonis, aye.
Commissioner Goklowski,
Commissioner Goklowski, aye.
Commissioner Begeman,
Commissioner Begman.
Commissioner Boda,
Commissioner Boda, aye.
Commissioner Basserman, aye. We'll see you in a couple seasons.
you bet. Thank you very much.
You got it. Item 7, no applications for receipt. And we have something on other business. I'm going to hand this over to Jamie, who's going to talk about OpenGov. It may not be what you think.
Jamie Frederick, and the wetland agent. So yeah, that's true. I guess I didn't really put a lot of context here for commissioners. So OpenGov is a new permitting software that the town is looking to utilize for land use permitting. So building, engineering, planning and zoning, and the wetlands. So we've been working at creating the application form in OpenGov because essentially it's a platform that will allow applicants to apply online. So the regulations require that the commission approve the application form. So I figured make sure you guys are happy with the application form. So I was going to just quickly run through what we have and any, kind of changes that might be from the paper application form. And I do have one recommendation for a change that would be applicable to both application forms, based on kind of user experience. So let me see.
Amy, this is Commissioner Boda. Are you going to be able to do those kind of side by side?
Maybe. Let me see if I have the application form with some markup on it that might be helpful. So okay. All right, so if somebody is going to apply for an inland wetland application through the website, essentially they'll come to this page and it gives them the option of applying for an inland wetlands permit for regulated activity, subdivision/re-subdivision referral with no regulated activity, and a jurisdictional ruling request like the one we just went through. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hop to the back end. What it looks like for staff, it's not going to look like this for the applicant or for the public, which essentially the commissioners will view things as members of the public, but it lets us see everything. So on this form, there's two different sides. There's the side that's used by the public, and that's anything that's in white here. And then there's other sections that are yellowish with a little lock, and those are things that are internal for tracking purposes only. So really it's kind of the yellow boxes that we're focusing on, but I'll kind of highlight a little bit about what we're tracking internally too, so you guys can be aware of what we're doing. So
Commissioner Bassman, Jamie, can you just provide a broad context for why we're moving into this environment?
Sure. There's a lot of municipalities that are moving to online permitting. And, with the remote meetings, having everything digital in one place where everyone can view it, it makes a lot of sense. One thing we'll probably want to talk about is paper copies and what the commission is expecting for paper copies moving forward. But it's nice because when somebody applies online, then Katie doesn't have to enter that application into the system because the applicant's done it for us. So that's one benefit from an administrative standpoint. And as you will be able to see from all of the internal side, I think it provides a good framework for tracking the process a lot better, more efficiently. And also a nice thing about it is, I'm going to jump ahead and show you a screenshot. This is what an application submission looks like to an applicant. So they can see their submission, and then on the side, they can see a checklist of where they are in the application process. And I do have a disclaimer early on that checklist is probably going to change throughout the process because, the commission might not know if they need a public hearing, might not know if they need a peer review, might go to 3 meetings rather than the default 2 that I have built in. But it kind of lets them keep up to date with where they are. And then another nice thing about it is if we require a bond, monitoring, those things will also get added to the workflow. So even after they get their permit, they know what they have to do for compliance.
This is Commissioner Bassman, while you mentioned that, Jamie, what about things like the monitoring plan, which is over some extended future period? Is that built into the system so you can track where you're at in that monitoring?
Yes, it's a little it's new territory, so it's built out, and hopefully it will work the way we envision it will work.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, so I'll show that to you briefly as we get to that part. So first and foremost, in the system, in order to submit an application, you have to be a user. So you're already going to have your user information entered into the system, and that's going to default in as the applicant information. So essentially, this area of our application form would be step one. And if you're the owner, in that section, we ask or early on, we ask who the applicant is. And if you're the applicant, you're the owner, we're not going to make you fill that information out again. So and then step two is where it is. So I will jump back to the software. So this is essentially, every box is a step. So step one, after, creating your user, is what is your role in the application? Are you the owner? Are you the potential buyer, engineer, whatever? And then we do have an other. So then if you select other, this explain role pops up. If you say you're the owner, it'll ask you if there's multiple owners, so you can add the other owner information if applicable. Provide a brief description of the project, as shown here. And then occupancy type, that is not something we ask for on the current application, but the reason why we ask for it in the system is for calculating the fee. So basically, if you say it's a residential project, we'll calculate it based on the residential fees. If you say it's a commercial project, it knows to calculate the commercial fees. And then add contacts other than applicant owner. That relates back to our contact section. And what the system does is it allows you to enter multiple contacts if for whatever reason you've got a lot of people involved in the project that you want to have updated on a routine basis. Property owner information, this only pops up if it's determined to be necessary based on the previous steps. Same with contact person. And then we have our plan information. This is largely the same as what we have on our current application. I did not require fax because I think the only faxes we get are roofing companies and lunch specials. And so
Are you saying that the town is still paying for fax lines?
It's an email service.
Okay.
Yeah. And I did add this little help text of a site plan of existing and proposed conditions is required per section 7.7 of the regulations, unless waived by the agency or the duly authorized agent. And then we've got the wetland report section, again, by and large, the same as our current application with the little help text and the link to the regulations. That would be this section of our
Commissioner Boda, is the end result that the commission ends up also using this software to get digital access to this information and that we move away from the Dropbox?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent, yes, that is what we are looking forward to. Okay. It will be different. It will be something to get used to, but that is ultimately the goal. So that way we don't have to manage both services, and essentially the applicant's going to be able to upload everything directly to the Dropbox. So if you're checking the record and they submitted revised plans, you'll know. You'll be able to see them.
Jamie,
this is
go ahead.
Continuing, Commissioner Boda. What is the time frame for this transition? Is there a specific date that the town would be shifting over? Is it a kind of rollout where we would be getting some information in this database system and some in the Dropbox?
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent. So we're looking to hopefully, if everything goes well, make the transition around mid-September. As far as transition. I expect that we'll still get a decent amount of paper applications that Katie will be entering into the system, especially due to the nature of commission applications versus, a building permit to re-roof a house. There's just more complexity and attachments and what have you. So I think as far as the phasing, we could kind of look at that as a commission and see what your comfort level is when it goes live, and maybe for a month or so we do it both ways, and or maybe we have kind of a training session at some point once it's live, so you guys can see how you view it. But ultimately, the goal would be to have everything in one place and not be managing in two places, and not have to, if it's in the system, it's part of the record. You don't have to worry about updating other places and making sure they match.
Thank
So
you.
that is the goal. And I do have, we'll get to attachments in a little bit and how that works.
Jamie, Commissioner Goklowski, I'm sure when they were pitching the software, uses of the software, they were talking about actual time-saving issues. What do you feel the savings of time is going to be for the staff on each particular application?
That's a good question. So I think there'll certainly be saving of time because the applicant will be answering some of the information. And I think the real time saver is like over the span of the permit review and compliance, because I think our current system never got built out to fully function for our needs. Basically, we took the building department's program and forced our stuff to fit into it. And so this is really letting us build out steps, checks and balances. Essentially, if you don't complete a step, you don't move on to the next step unless for whatever reason it's waived. So I think it provides a lot more transparency to applicants to understand where they are in the process. And so I think it will be a very useful tool to have moving forward. There's some things we ask about past practice. This is going to really let us kind of, I think, report better on that and give actual responses rather than, well, typically we'd be able to look at, well, how many times has the commission granted a fee reduction and what circumstances? Or how many projects do we have out there that are supposed to be providing monitoring reports but aren't? So I think it'll be really helpful in efficiency for the department.
This is Commissioner Bassman. Jamie, how many other municipalities are using this already?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know off the top of my head, but I do know there's multiple municipalities in Connecticut using OpenGov.
So we're not the guinea pig.
Yeah, I think Clinton, Madison.
All right. So yeah.
So like you could check. Yeah, and I can send out. I know there's one community, Seacoast community, that's using it for their wetlands meetings, and they have links on their agenda. So I'll send out one of those agendas so that you guys can take a look at how another town's using it and what it looks like on their end. Ours will look different because our form is different, but you'll get an understanding of what the interface is.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Begemon. For the people, wait a second. Yeah, for the people doing the paper application, will they also be required to go in OpenGov once Katie has put it into the system, or are those people going to be able to continue doing? Are you going to essentially have two systems going for people who do it by paper?
Jamie Frederick and Wetland Agent. So no, they will be entered into the same system. I would say they'd be encouraged to create a user and log in, but they don't have to. So, statutorily, we're still required to mail permits. So if they don't want to look at the system, they don't have to. They can just follow along the process the way we, currently go, and they'll still end up with their permit. But but it's a good resource, and I think that a lot of people would be interested in being able to see where they stand with their application. And
Yeah.
yeah. So
Commissioner-
no, if you're not a computer person, you don't have to have a user
Great,
login.
great, thanks.
Commissioner Goklowski, now, if, let's say I wanted to go online right now and fill out an application, and I fill it out today at 8:11 p.m. on the 14th, but my application technically is not accepted into the office until tomorrow morning when you open, or does it get accepted to tonight?
That is a good question that I should actually probably follow up with town council on to see what his recommendation is as far as receipt dates. Because the way that the application works is the application fee doesn't get submitted until after staff reviews the application and confirms the application fee. So even if you submit it at 3 o'clock, you might not get that application fee. I think that you would treat it probably as received once it's been submitted, even though it's incomplete. But I will investigate.
Yeah, I'm worried about holidays, weekends, that type of stuff. I mean, there should be a stopgap in the system that, if it's submitted on a Friday night, they should be aware that it's not going to be technically received by the office to the next actual business day.
Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Nation. I don't know how much that matters because essentially, as far as timeframes for commission review go, applications are received by the commission at the next regularly scheduled meeting or after 35 days, whichever is less. So say somebody submitted an application today, it'd be for receipt at our next meeting. If they submitted it yesterday after business hours, then the question becomes, is it for receipt at today's meeting, or would it be for receipt at the next meeting? I think we would probably say that it was for receipt today to be safe, but I will ask town council's guidance for that.
Okay, thank you.
So really Wednesdays are going to be our problem days. Okay, so the next section of our application is kind of some of our general information. Total area of the site, total area of disturbance, total area of upland review area disturbance, wetland disturbance, and water course disturbance. I made all of these required. That's what the little asterisk means. And if they all have little help boxes to try and help provide context for the applicants so they know what they're filling out. And for their wetland and water course, I request that if it's not applicable to put 0. That way I know they didn't just miss it. And then we're getting into this.
Jamie, while I think of it and I don't have a senior moment and forget it, but I assume nothing here forces us to change the regulations we have?
No. Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, so this section and the check boxes and the zoning relate to pretty much the bottom part of the first sheet of our application. And in looking at these check boxes, I cannot tell you how many times I get calls asking, well, which boxes should I check? And I'm like, well, what's the point in having the check boxes if I'm telling them what they're supposed to be checking? So I would recommend that the commission considers changing clearing to clearing/vegetation removal, that grading, filling, and excavation get lumped together into grading/earthwork, in parentheses, cut/fill. And then construction, drainage, and other would remain the same. And a lot of times I think people get hung up on whether filling means wetland filling or not. And they're like, well, if I'm grading, then I'm obviously excavating or filling. So, I mean, I think that these check boxes might be a little bit easier to self-identify with as an applicant. And I think they get to the meat of what we're trying to identify with the current check boxes. Does anyone have any concerns or feel differently?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Real quick while we're at it, file number, currently we do IW number, 2 digits for the year, dot 2 digits for the month, dot 2 digits for the number permit in that month. The system creates a number, it will be slightly different. So we can have 4, basically it's going to be whatever code we want up to 4 letters. So we could keep it as IW or we could change it to IWWA. And then 2 digits for the year, so it'd be like 25. And then it would just be a running number of permits. So it'd be 1, 2, 3 throughout the entire year rather than sequencing it by month. Just wanted to give everyone a heads up on that. And I don't really want to add another permit number column because then I think it will get confusing which permit number are we talking about. I think have more than one permit number for a record would just be confusing. All right. Next section of the application is additional information. Essentially, check the checkboxes that apply. Pretty much the same on the online version, but what I did is in the system, we have the capability of using location flags and parcel flags or manual flags. So essentially, we can flag any parcel that lies within 500 feet of an adjacent municipality, that lies within the Regional Water Authority watershed, that lies within the flood zone. So this isn't 100% going to catch well, it will catch everything. It might identify a parcel, which it doesn't really pertain to if it's a large parcel and the project is not within the section of the parcel that intersects. But essentially, I've added no information that pops up if the parcel does intersect with one of these features, just to kind of help make sure the applicant is aware and to help trigger checking the box if it's applicable. So I have that for the adjacent municipality notice, the RWA notice, and the floodway. We also have tidal wetlands, which I do not have a location flag for because I think that's a little bit more open-ended and hard to, we don't have as comprehensive of a data set. Same with the contains wetland or watercourse regulated by Army Corps of Engineers, and that it requires a Connecticut general permit. Field inspections is just like it is on the application. Proof of certified mailing for conservation or preservation restrictions is like it is on the application. I think the wording here is a little bit different. It says, does the area where the activity is proposed have a conservation or preservation restriction? Yes, no. I think we currently have yes, no, not applicable. I'm not really sure what if we need the third option. And then if you say yes, then it will trigger an attachment requirement where you have to upload that proof of mailing. And then also a new thing that I added that's not on our paper application is natural diversity database. And this is another location flag. So if the parcel lies within, or if it intersects with the natural diversity database, which is a data set maintained by the state, it triggers this prompt and it says the agency may require NDD be reviewed to be completed. I didn't want to necessarily require it because I think there's some projects where perhaps the commission wouldn't, but I wanted to put the applicant on notice while they were filling out the application form so they wouldn't be caught off guard. And this also triggers a place for that to be uploaded as well. And this links to the state's page where they would be able to submit a request for review. So to the question, any questions on the NDDB before I move on?
This is Commissioner Basserman. Jamie, is this list of sheets or whatever the application is going to be, is this able to get emailed?
It's not really a printer friendly format and I can't send out the link. It's a internal staff only access on this side. So I could give you a bunch of screenshots, but I don't think anyone wants to look at.
No. Okay.
So here's our first internal only checkbox, and this only pops up internally because essentially it's asking, are you staff entering this application? And if you are, you check the box. And what this does is it prevents staff from having to authorize the application because obviously you can't authorize anything. So if you check this box will pop up for the public to see, and it lets them know that it was entered by staff. So if you want to see the certification for the application, go and find the paper copy of the application that was scanned and uploaded. If you're submitting it, if you are the applicant and you're submitting it, then you'll get this section instead. Well, this section will pop up either way as well, but you get this section and you then have to confirm that you have read and agree to the information above and sign the application. So these 3 boxes would not be required if a staff member was entering it. And then the supplemental information is not on the paper application. This is kind of general guidance for the applicant to understand you're not done yet. So it says you will be required to submit supporting documentation for your application. Some documentation will be required at time of submission. Additional information may be required based on the regulations and review process. To help keep files orderly, please let IW staff know if you have revised or supplemental materials to submit so they can provide access to upload additional materials to the appropriate locations. Note that the workflow for your application will change over time. Additional steps are likely to be added throughout the review process. Contact the IWWA office if you have any questions or concerns. If you're logged in as the applicant, supporting documents can be viewed in the Attachments tab located in the menu on the top left of your screen. If you're not the applicant, supporting documentation for this application can be viewed in the Files tab located near the top of this page. So this will be shown from the public view. There was kind of no way of giving this information to the applicant without it being on the public view page, so I tried to tailor it so that it would kind of make sense for both. So I'm going to kind of stop here because that's the end of what the applicant does. And I'm going to pop over to attachments, and it's going to look like a lot because we have a lot and they come up as they're relevant. So authorizations comes up if the applicant is not the owner, or if multiple owners have been indicated. And so that's where they would be able to upload their authorization. That's also where we as staff, if we upload an application, we'll put the paper copy of the application there with the signature from the applicant. That's required if the applicant is not the owner. So they will not be able to submit their application without providing that information. Same with the site plan. They have to submit something. So there's a bit of information here about, and this, if the commission wants, I can send this out, I think, as a printout if you want to be able to look at these, I call them buckets, and provide feedback. I could send that out.
This Commissioner Bass, before we go any further, is there any part of these attachments that you need the commission to weigh in on a change that you're looking to make?
I don't think so, because this isn't the actual application form. This is kind of application management, I think, at this point. So I guess before we go through this, do we want to go back to the application form or keep going?
From my standpoint, if in fact you can send this out and the commission can view this, on their own time, and not necessarily tie up time now, maybe that would be a preferred choice.
Yeah, so I'll send that out in a link to another municipality so you can see how theirs works with the attachments. Essentially, anything that gets uploaded kind of gets uploaded to these locations, and if a second document is uploaded to that location, it kind of supersedes, it adds versions. So you'll have all of the site plans, hopefully will be added to the site plan folder. So if you click on site plans, the most recent one will pop up, but you'll also be able to see that there was, 3 previous versions or whatever. Hopefully there wasn't, because that's a lot of versions. So yeah, I don't have to
While I
walk.
think of it, just another thought just popped into my head, Commissioner Bassman. What about for very large projects where to get information, on a screen is very demanding in terms of being able to see everything. What do we do about large paper copies?
Yeah, so I think for commission review projects, we're going to want probably 2 paper copies. It's nice at the end of the review to have 2 copies, 1 file copy, 1 field copy, and it's nice during the review to have 2 copies so that I can be reviewing your copy and I can give a copy to the town engineer to review. And then, of course, if any commissioners want paper copies of the site plan, we still have the ability to require reduced size paper copies. So I would probably add that into the form under this supplemental information area. And just say, note, you will be required to submit 2 full-size copies of the plan and X reduced size copies unless informed otherwise by the duly authorized station. Because on a de minimis project, I wouldn't necessarily require copies. It's just a waste of paper.
Yep. Okay.
I think currently we have 3 commissioners that request paper copies. We can also do that offline though. I can send out a poll and ask people if they want paper copies as part of that email with the examples and our attachment locations.
Jamie, how much time have you had to look at Commissioner Groklowski? How much time have you had to review this system since they dumped it in your lap?
Jamie Frederick, and the Wetland Agent. I don't remember when we first started looking at this, but we've been working with it in the background for a while now. So I'd say we had a decent amount of time to kind of set everything up. I won't bore you with every single section, but I'll just give you the quick highlights. So we've got the application and fee review. This is where we're going to do our everyday tracking and updates a lot of the workflow steps for the applicant. We're able to track site walks, so that's something else we'll be able to do reporting on, public hearings, fee reduction requests, interveners, peer reviews, complex application fees, how many times have we required a second and third amount of money, are going to be things we'll be able to track. Department reviews is internal. And then essentially we've got the decisions, so the system will be able to spit out our permits. So our permits will look slightly different moving forward. Unfortunately, the formatting is not the best, but it's able to hold all the information, and I think it'll be nice to have it in the system, generated by the system, so it'll be very easy for the applicant, or I guess the permit holder at that point, to reference their permit moving forward. And the nice thing about this system is all of these boxes don't pop up unless you check something that says it's required. So it looks like a lot, but it is only a lot when it is a lot. Permit compliance, be able to enter the contractor's acknowledgement information in here, so that way we can make sure we know who we're corresponding with and when the project is supposed to start and finish. Bond information, and we can enter multiple bonds in case there's cash and surety, or phase 1 and phase 2. Track all of that, know if our sureties are expiring, monitoring how many reports are required, have they started, are we expecting them to start in the near future, and then denial letter I put at the very bottom because we generally don't have a whole lot of those, and permit extension and expiration, so that if we have requests to extend a permit, we can process that through the system and have that updated expiration date in the system as well.
This is Commissioner Basserman. If I wanted to, after, let's say this has been implemented for 6 months, take a look across the board and say, what's the total number of bond dollars that in fact were processed through this? Is there an ability to do that?
There is, I will say, in the first 6 months, we probably won't have a whole lot of bond information.
I use that as an example.
But
I'm
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
over 2 years, let's say, if you
Yep,
wanted
you
to
can
look back.
set timeframes for the reporting. You can set criteria. So yeah, it's got a lot of flexibility as far as the reporting. So I was trying to build out the things that the commission has asked about in the past to make sure that we have that ability moving forward. It won't exist obviously for records that are already in the system. However, I am looking into whether we can add the bond and mitigation monitoring sections to our historical records as well, because they're a different record type. So that way we can input that information as relevant for those projects that haven't started yet, but that will be going on and that we'll want to track that information for, rather than having to put in like a duplicate record if we wanted to do that.
Right.
Jamie, Commissioner Goklowski, who is going to be the hosting company of this service? Is it going to be the town's infrastructure, or is it going to be an outside infrastructure?
You mean like where the data will be stored?
Yes.
I believe it's cloud-based, but I'm not sure.
To follow up
and I know
on,
there's backup redundancy requirements. I'm not sure on that side.
So
Okay.
I'm just, this is Commissioner Boda. I'm wondering if, as the chairman mentioned earlier, some of these details can be saved for either individual conversations or feedback or a webinar type situation. We had such a short agenda and we've been on this item for a really long time, and I appreciate the time, the effort, the work, and the detail that goes into it. I just know that for me personally, when I'm working in a new system, like to learn about it and hear about it is not as helpful as like, okay, now I have to use it. If I'm not going to use it for another month or 2 months, all of these details I'm going to just have to re-hear again.
Understood. So the main point I think this evening is to get confirmation if you guys are good with the form part of it, which is the white boxes we went over initially. Very minor changes. And like I said, I would recommend changing the boxes in alignment with what I have summarized here. And I would also recommend updating the paper form to align with what we're asking for online. So I guess I would ask if the commission's comfortable with making that decision this evening. And then, of course, we can send out what we can send out for you guys to look at in the future, of whether you want to do that now or closer to us going live. That I totally get, like, it's a lot. And when I don't look at it for a couple of weeks, I'm like, oh, right, what was I doing? So yeah, I don't think we have to dive into all of the weeds tonight. I just wanted to get the application form forward and see if you guys had any feedback.
This is Commissioner Goklowski. I'm fine with the application for, at this stage. And then anything in the future, I mean, we can't really discuss anything that we don't have any concrete evidence on that right now anyway, so.
Commissioner Boda, I think that your changes are thoughtful and helpful. I think the regrouping of the regulated activities and such, you're working with the applicants in a much closer way. And so I think that your judgment is quite sound.
You okay to move on, Jamie?
Yep.
Okay. We have agent approvals. Next, anything of note there, or can we move on to correspondence and announcements?
Close out of the agenda. I think everything was pretty straightforward unless any commissioners have questions.
Okay, item 10, correspondence and announcements.
Jamie Frederick and the wetland agent. It's not added as an agenda item, so I don't want to get into a whole lot of detail, but I do want you guys to kind of hear it from me rather than through the grapevine. We are looking at restructuring the inland wetlands and planning and zoning departments into a planning, conservation, and development department. So there will be no change in, the services that are being provided to the commission. same communication, same process for the time being. It might be that you're seeing some more faces from staff members, as we move forward with the transition. But I'm not, planning on going anywhere. I'll be here. This is definitely where my heart is. So, I'm not looking to leave support for the Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Commission. And we're looking to, kind of reassess how we can provide services for the community and the commissions that the departments currently assist. So, we'll be in touch with more information moving forward. They're not looking to cut any staff or anything. There's actually an extra part-time position in the planning and zoning budget that's not currently allocated. So we'd be looking at how to best allocate that position moving forward in line with the restructure. So not cutting anything back, just shifting it around to kind of see how we can provide services for the community.
This is Commissioner Basserman. I'm sure the commission appreciates the heart. We also appreciate the experience and, the brain. So the fact that you're going to be with us for the foreseeable future and still providing the guidance that you have is immeasurable for this commission to function.
Yeah, and Jamie Frederick and the Wetland Agent, if any of you want to reach out to me directly to discuss any concerns, thoughts, questions, you know how to get a hold of me.
Okay. I think if I'm not mistaken, we have finished the agenda except for adjournment.
So moved.
Go ahead, Commissioner Botta.
I said so moved. Motion to adjourn.
I am moved as well. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Right.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at BranfordTV.org.